Good afternoon and welcome to Sports Talk today. It is Saturday, June 11, 2022. I am Daniel Blake. Thank you so much for joining me. Sports Talk is brought to you by Jamaica Customs Agency, Country Above Self. Remember, you can listen to the show in several ways. So if you have things to do and you want to go up on the road, or maybe your radio can't go in on your bathroom, whatever it is, you can listen in several different ways. One of those ways is the Love 101 FM app, which you can download in the Google Play or App Store. As long as you have data or Wi-Fi, you can listen anywhere. You can also go in your browser, love101.org, and listen live there. Or if you want to see what's going on, then tune in on Facebook and YouTube, and then you will see me live there. Hello to everyone in Jamaica or across the world. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you want to participate in things that you hear on the show, you can leave your comments in the WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp number is 876-997-3125. That's 876-997-3125. With all that's been going on with the JFF, the Reggae Boys, everything, if you want to talk about that, you can. You can also leave your comments if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook in the comment section there, all right? So if you want to leave an essay, you can. I'd advise you not to send voice notes because I'm a one-man band, and, you know, it kind of complicated to vet some of these voice notes. Not saying that you're not going to cuss in the voice notes or anything like that, but sometimes, you know, the things stay, all right? So WhatsApp me, feel free to do so, all right? So as you know, or should know by now, our special guest for this week is JFF President Michael Ricketts. You will hear from him after the 1:15 break. We'll talk about the entire issue that has been going on in regards to General Secretary Dalton Wint, his resignation, if Ricketts felt he was doing a good job, the relationship with the players, if Paul Hall is going to be here long term after rumors about him stepping down, and if Ricketts himself is considering stepping down. So immediately after the 1:15 break, we'll hear that interview. And then later on in the show, we'll be joined by Sportsmax reporter Brian Peter, who was at the National Stadium recently and has been covering the Reggae Boys for quite a while. So we'll have his thoughts on the entire matter, and also to analyze the performance side of it, because even though the off-the-field performances, well, the off-the-field issues have dominated, the Reggae Boys, them did play. So we'll hear from him later on. Before I go into my mini sports report and also my monologue for this week, a special shout out to my father, Davidton Blake. It's his birthday tomorrow. He turns older. I don't know if he's comfortable with me calling his age on the radio, but if it wasn't for him, there would be no sports talk with Daniel Blake, because if he never meet my mother and then all of those things transpire, I wouldn't be here. So happy birthday, Dad. Hope that you have a fantastic day tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, sir. I'll tell you all of those things, but I've limited time. But you might know my team next week. Who knows? All right, so it is time for the sports bits for this week, which is like a mini sports report of just some major sporting things that I think that you should probably know of. All right, so let's start with track and field with multiple Olympic medalist Shericka Jackson. She beat countrywoman and reigning Olympic sprint champion Elaine Thompson-Herah as she clocked one of the fastest times in the 200 meters this season at the Rome Diamond League earlier this week. She sped to an impressive season's best 21.91 seconds, with Thompson-Herah clocking 22.25 seconds for second. In the 100-meter hurdles, Olympic finalist Brittany Anderson in 12.50 finished behind Olympic champion Jasmine Camacho Quinn, who sped to a world lead 12.37 seconds. Janive Russell, 54.18, was second in the women's 400 hurdles, and Rochelle Clayton, 54.80, was fifth, with Olympic bronze medalist Femke Bol taking the event in 53.02. Other Jamaicans in action were Christopher Taylor, who finished fifth in the men's 400 meters, Nigel Ellis, who finished fourth in the men's 100 meters, and Olympic finalist Natoya Gould, who finished sixth in the women's 800 meters. Some history was made on Friday night. After almost 5 decades, Jamaica has a new national record holder in the men's 800 meters. Former St. Jago High School athlete Navaski Anderson, competing for Mississippi State University, finished second in a personal best 1 minute 45.02 seconds in the final at the NCAA Division I Outdoor Championships in Eugene, Oregon. The old mark, 1 minute 45.30 seconds, was set on May 13, 1977, here at the National Stadium by Seymour Newman. So 45-year-old record gone. The West Indies, they only have pride to play for in their third and final one-day international tomorrow against Pakistan after already losing the series. They lost the first ODI by 5 wickets despite chalking up over 300 runs, and failed in their second run chase on Friday to lose by 120 runs. The match is scheduled to bowl off at 6 a.m. Jamaica time. Watch at your own peril. Waterhouse and Dunby Holden earned automatic semi-final spots in the Jamaica Premier League playoffs after finishing as the top 2 teams in the regular season. Arnett Gardens, Mount Pleasant, and the Cavalier have secured berths in the quarter-final, but the final spot will be decided on Sunday, with Harbour View, Humble Lion, and Tivoli all vying for that last spot. Now, Jamaican sprint legend Usain Bolt will be back playing football again, but it's just for charity as he lines up in the popular Soccer Aid charity match to be held at West Ham's London Stadium, where Bolt actually won 3 gold medals at the 2012 Olympic Games. Bolt will play on Team World, which will feature football legends like Roberto Carlos, Andre Pirlo, Cafu, and Andrei Shevchenko, with former Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger and noted actor Idris Elba as the management team. Team England will also see the likes of Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher, Teddy Sheringham, and Sir Mo Farah. And finally, Steph Curry cooked up 43 points and 10 rebounds as the Golden State Warriors beat the Boston Celtics 170-97 in the best of 7 NBA Finals, leveling it at 2-2. Game 5 will return to San Francisco on Monday. So that is our sports bits for this week. And it's time for my monologue for this week, the Danielog.
Hi, this is David Blake.
This is Hope Blake.
I am Ariel Brown Blake.
I'm here to tell you right now.
It's time for the Danielog.
The Danielog.
The Danielog.
I love it.
Presented by no one.
All right, so the Reggae Boys said they wouldn't play against Suriname last Tuesday if General Secretary Dalton Wint wouldn't resign. The JFF released a statement that morning saying that Wint gave an irreversible commitment to step down. The Reggae Girls a few weeks ago wrote to the JFF asking for the removal of head coach Vin Blaine because they were unhappy with his coaching style. And he eventually resigned, and Lauren Donaldson will be in charge. Now, over the last few weeks, we've heard football administrators, coaches, analysts, and even some fans saying that it sets a bad precedence. If you haven't heard that term more in the last few weeks than ever before, maybe you haven't been listening, but it sets a bad precedence. Now, if Love 101, my lovely employers here, if they decide to do a poll with the 10 listeners who listen, not saying that it's just 10 people listening. I'd be very shocked if it's just 10 people listening. But let's say that is only 10 people listen to the show, right? And then decide to poll those 10 listeners, and 9 of those listeners say, we're not going to listen to the show anymore, or we're just going to boycott Love 101 on a whole unless you get rid of Daniel. Right? What should Love do? as as much as I'd feel bad for losing my position here, because I really love hosting Sports Talk. But if 9 out of 10 people, or if all 10 of them say, you know what, we don't want Daniel here, then them need to move on from Daniel. We always hear like, you know, the team is, or a federation or a company is nothing without its employees or players. Then therefore, players should have a say, right? So whether you think the reggae girls or the reggae boys went about these issues in the wrong way, I mean, essentially the JFF or the national program is nothing without the players, right? So if the players are unhappy with a certain situation, shouldn't they listen to the players? I mean, whether you think it's right or wrong, it's the players who go out there and represent our country, and more often than not represent them well. So if they have a certain issue, then we should listen to them, right? And should act on it. We always hear like the customer is always right, but more often than not, it's like the customer is only right when we say they are right. Meaning that, yeah, we sort of care about you, but at the end of the day, we have our own policies and whatever, and we'll sort out things ourselves. But what I would like to say is that the players, in my opinion, have been respectful over the years, despite the hundreds of issues that we've seen. Them meet with the JFF, them write to the JFF. They've stated it in interviews and they've been relatively respectful. But at some point, them just couldn't take it no more. Civil rights activist John Lewis, one of his greatest quotes was, "Get in good trouble," which is ironic because trouble is bad, but in a time where, you know, Black people were struggling for rights and those things, he was like, no, man, you can't just sit down and write letters to the editor or whatever. You have to go out there and ensure that they make you feel like you are part of their country. So if them set a bad precedence, I guess that's your view. But if you treat people properly, if you pay people properly, if you make sure things are organized, you won't have to worry about these issues. Trust me. Things will be a lot smoother and you won't have to worry about nothing. So if you hire a good coach, if you hire a good general secretary, if you hire, and that's in all, you know, sporting organizations or just organizations in general. If you put the right people in place and things remain organized and everything, then you won't have to worry about the actions being taken. So, to be very honest, I can't blame the players, but that's just me. All right, so that was my monologue for this week. We head into a break, and then when we come back, we'll hear from the president of the Jamaica Football Federation, Michael Ricketts. Stay with us.
Keep fully connected with Flow Fiber Fast Internet at home and on the road with LTE data and calls for a fast, reliable experience anywhere. Over 500 communities have been upgraded since 2020, making more of Jamaica Flow Fiber Fast. And with Yard and Road, get Flow Fiber Faster Yard and LTE Road for as low as $3,999 plus GCT. Visit discoverflow.co to get connected on Jamaica's largest network. Conditions apply.
Pastors, elders, church and ministry leaders who wish to participate in a special book distribution of the 100 Steps Family Bible are being asked to contact the Bible Society of the West Indies today. The 100 Steps Family Bible is a book that contains the 100 steps from which readers can discover about Jesus Christ, how special the Bible is, and how the old age stories still have meaning today. For further information, you may contact the Bible Society of the West Indies at familybible100@gmail.com.
Bashko time. All the things that you need for your home and price is so low, you will never need a loan at Bashko. At Bashko. Appliances, household furniture and rugs, decent linens and glass and mugs at Bashko. When you're shopping at Bashko, whether the north or south, in the east and the west, Bashko, them all over, they must be the best at Bashko. At Bashko. When you're shopping at Bashko. At Bashko. Giving you more.
Have you ever looked at the good things in your life and still felt like something was missing? We know from experience how frustrating this can be. We are Christian Missionary Fellowship International, and we have come to tell you that we have found what you are looking for. So put down the comfort food and join us for a time of worship and deliverance service. Where? At the Portmore Art Academy this Saturday, June 11th at 5 p.m. If you can't make it, no problem. You are also invited for a time of worship at 52 Norbrook Drive on June 12th at 10 a.m. We will see you there.
Welcome back to Sports Talk here on Love 101. It is 1:18. Thank you so much for staying with me. For those who were watching on Facebook and YouTube, and you did see something over my face. I'm not sure what happened there, but I think I've corrected the issue. So everything should be good. Speaking of everything should be good, it's not one of the best moments for the JFF right now in terms of all the issues that have been going on. Most recently, if you guys haven't been following or should have been following, the whole issue around Dalton Wint's resignation, with the boys saying that they wouldn't play until he resigned, and so much more. But, you know, seemingly things are going in the right direction, but that's just from my eyes or your eyes or whatever. But I spoke with President Michael Ricketts on Thursday because, as you know, they have a lot of meetings and so forth. So it was really good to get him on Thursday afternoon, and we spoke about Wint's resignation, if he felt he was doing a good job, how they intend to handle the whole contract situation, rebuilding the relationship with the players and everything like that. But first, I started by asking him about his current mental state with all that's been going on over the last few days.
Well, I tell you, I believe in the Almighty, and I depend on Him for my sustenance. I think I am doing okay. We meaning the JFF is now in reform and repair mode. Hopefully we'll get this over and get the nation's business on a proper path in very short order.
It's well documented with what happened in Suriname and the days after. Were you sort of surprised that it got to that level where even the boys were at the point of saying they wouldn't show up for a match if the general secretary wouldn't resign? Were you surprised that it got to that level?
Absolutely, totally surprised. And if I may just give an idea of what would have transpired.
Sure.
When we were made aware of this case, we got in contact made an arrangement with them to come back, share the cost of the flight coming back because they had a chartered flight. And Daniel, if you're not aware, it is extremely difficult to travel around the Caribbean. It is extremely difficult. So of course we partnered with Suriname in coming back because they had a chartered flight. So we booked 40 seats on that charter coming back. Eventually we were told that it could work because some of their supporters wanted to use some of the seats. And understandably so, we were bumped off. Our next option, of course, was to get on a flight heading into Port of Spain the following morning, the morning after the game. That was almost in place. The flight got into Port of Spain 1 hour before the Caribbean Airlines flight would leave Port of Spain into Jamaica. So we thought that might present a challenge. So we wrote to Caribbean Airlines. We asked Minister Grange to intervene. In the process of having all of that done, we were told that that flight was cancelled. So the next option, of course, would be to try and get a charter from where we were, Suriname, into Port of Spain. We made the arrangement. We got the cost, which was $42,000. Then we were told that the flight would leave at 12 midnight after the game on Saturday. When we announced that to the players, they said no, that would not work. They couldn't work with that. And we were then forced to cancel that arrangement. We now had to try and get a flight straight from Suriname into Kingston. That presented a challenge. The cost was prohibitive. However, we got in contact with Minister Grange, we got in contact with Proven, and both parties assisted us in getting that $105,000 paid. Of course, it took some hours to get through the logistics, get landing permits and stuff. So we eventually left on Monday morning at 4 o'clock and got here maybe 8 o'clock thereabout. The players at one point decided that they would not play and insisted on the resignation of the general secretary. Obviously something would have been brewing and then it obviously came to a head. But like I said, we are starting the repair job. Just coming out of a meeting, we have an emergency board meeting tomorrow morning, and we must try as best as possible to have things corrected so we can reprogram ourselves and get football back on track.
I know in previous interviews, especially years ago, you had said that Mr. Wint was essentially learning on the job, but he still seemed to have issues, and I think you even recently mentioned the shortcomings because teams at all levels, the reggae boys, reggae girls, have had issues with him. Why do you think he wasn't able to meet the required standard? Do you think that he was stubborn? Was training not provided? Why wasn't he able to reach that improvement that you wanted to see?
To see one's performance and the assessment of one's performance is always relative. Because I could think that he did a good job. Somebody else would say he did a reasonable job. Somebody else might say he did a poor job. But it all depends on how you assess one's performance. What transpired was indeed unfortunate, to say the least. And we, like I've said, will be trying our best to engage some private sector persons to help us to create a path forward that certainly would encourage other stakeholders
are you saying that Mr. Wint was doing a good job in your eyes and the players were wrong to view it otherwise?
I wouldn't want to be as decisive as that, but none of us are perfect. I mean, none of us are infallible. We, of course, do make mistakes, but I've always said that since we are not infallible and since we can always make mistakes, it is incumbent on us to ensure that we put corrective measures in place and to ensure that we do not repeatedly make the same mistakes. Some of these allegations of incompetence, depending on how you view things, some might be justified, some might not be justified. But like I said, I want to put that behind us. Let's, as you would say, that's water under the bridge. Going forward now is to ensure that we do a good job of repairing what would have gone bad. And we want to just reform the entire process and go forward with some level of urgency.
So in terms of replacing the General Secretary, what kind of criteria needs to be met in terms of if someone is interested or if you and the board of directors are looking for someone, what criteria needs to be met for them to be the new General Secretary?
Well, certainly we would want to be extremely transparent. So we are having a board meeting tomorrow morning, an emergency board meeting, to look at the best process now to get a General Secretary on board. Certainly we'll put an ad out. Certainly we want somebody with some kind of management skills, somebody who would understand sport administration. And we were just hoping that we'll get someone who could help us as we try to reconstruct and to repair.
I don't know how true some of the recent reports are about the possible package that Mr. Wint would receive, how much it would cost, the JFF, etc. But I just want to know how the JFF intends to approach this type of situation with the whole money issue involved.
We have taken a decision that we will set up a task force, including a legal mind, and of course 2 other persons, that will look at Mr. Wint's contract and ensure that there is the highest level of transparency, and he gets what his contract says he's supposed to get. So that has been put in place. The 3 persons have already been named. It will just become official tomorrow morning when the board meets, and they will look at what the compensation package ought to be.
The relationship with the players, both the men and the women, haven't been the greatest, at least from the outside looking in. Now that this situation has passed, even with the reggae girls in, getting Lauren Donaldson back and several other things being sorted out, do you think that this entire period is the starting point for a better relationship between yourself, the JFF, and the players?
I really do hope so. I really do hope so. As it is now, the girls are getting ready for a camp to start on the 14th in Colorado. They will move from Colorado on the 28th of June, go straight into Mexico. There will be another camp leading up to the actual start. CONCACAF will take care of us as of July 2 rather. Hopefully we'll go all the way, and that I'm pretty certain will lift the spirits of our Jamaican people.
Before I get to the Jamaican people, I know that the Reggae Boys head coach Paul Hall, he was rumored to have resigned despite taking charge of the last 2 games against Suriname. Have you spoken to him, and do you think that he'll be, or do you know if he'll be staying on for the long term?
Well, Paul and I would have established a pretty took over the reins of the reggae boys, coaching the reggae boys, we would have had a number of meetings where we were actually in Suriname. We have not formally met since, but after the game on Tuesday, we'll sit, especially the technical committee, will sit and settle our discussion with Coach Paul Hall.
You spoke about the Jamaican public. At the most recent game against Suriname, there were some banners displayed at the stadium. We've seen thousands of comments on social media, the public coverage of issues going international. How do you go about fixing that public image, and how do you assure the average Jamaican football fan that it can trust you and the directors to guide the ship again?
I'll tell you, we just sometimes are a little hard on sports administrators. We took over the JFF with a debt of $300 million. It's down to 200 plus. We have paid up all our statutories, and we are very current now. Money has always been an issue, and especially in a third world country where a sport like football, where we have 13 national teams to take care of, 13, and we have struggled to fund these programs. The big problem, and in fact the only problem we have, is finance or the lack of it. If we had enough funds, what transpired in recent times, sure, would not have. Traveling has been a major issue. I had to sleep in the airport some months ago coming from a FIFA Congress. When I got to the airport, the flight was cancelled. And these are some of the challenges that we face. And I just certainly want to apologize, use this forum to apologize to Jamaica and our football-loving fans. This was never our intention. But I am sure that if we had enough funds, these things would not have happened. Like I said, we took over a federation that was in debt as much as $300 million. It is down to far less. And we have paid up all our statutories and will be current as I speak. So it is a huge challenge, but it's brought on because of the lack of enough money. If we had enough money, we'd have chartered a flight. The charter flight was $105,000. During the Gold Cup campaign and the World Cup campaign, as often as we could, we used charters to move the team around. This time we just did not have the resources. We just did not have the funds to charter flights. And this is the end result. We've been ridiculed, we've been disrespected. I mean, social media have been so hard on us, and nobody seems to understand that if we had enough money, we would not be in this position.
Do you think that it's then the JFF's role to communicate these things more? Because it seems as though the Jamaican public tends to find these issues out after the fact. Do you think that maybe if you improve the communication, let the players, the fans, everyone know that these things are happening, that maybe you wouldn't get this type of criticism that you spoke about?
I mean, social media is for everybody. Just about anybody who wants to get on a social media platform. So you have to expect that people will say just about anything. You'll be disrespected, you'll be aggressive, you'll be loved, you'll be hated. But the truth is that we just want to ensure that whatever we do the highest level of transparency, and we do have a conscience. And I believe that this JFF would have done far more than any other administration would have done. This year, we participated in the Gold Cup, we participated in World Cup qualifiers, we participated in women's qualifiers, we participated in under-20s, we participated in under-70s. Under-20 boys leave next week. I mean, like I said, we have 13 national teams to take care of. It's not easy. And people just need to try and understand that to fund these projects, I mean, we have players all over the world. And we are to bring them here, it costs us millions of dollars. I think this federation has done well, contrary to the level of criticism that are meted out to us. And it may be, like you said, Daniel, that a lot of persons do not know the challenges that we face.
Years ago, you said that you have an open door policy. With all that's been going on, is that still on so that people can understand these challenges more? Or
I embrace criticism, especially those that are positive. And anybody who wants to come into my office to make suggestions, to discuss the sport of football with me, to discuss how we can fund these programs, I embrace the thought. And again, I'm saying that I maintain my open door policy, and I'm saying that if you have ideas that can help, feel free to come and discuss them with me.
I know that people, as you mentioned, even on social media, have called for your resignation. I think even Kasafa, wrote a letter a few months ago asking for your resignation. Why are you confident that you can turn things around, especially with so many people against you and your leadership and your policies?
Because a number of these persons make this call out of self-interest. And some of them who are making the calls would have been in my position before, and they walked away from it. I have no idea why I offered there. But we have elections next year. So I'm saying to anybody who wants to run, come and run. Participate, be in the contest next year. 2023 will be election year. So if you think you can make a contribution, contest the election, let's see what happens.
So there is no way in your mind that you're stepping away before that election like people want you to?
I have very strong support from my directors, and when they say I'm to go, I will. When the constituents say I'm to go, I will. But I'm not going to yield to frivolous calls.
All right, so finally we play Mexico on Tuesday at the National Stadium. The game against Suriname had, I would say, a respectable crowd at the stadium. But what would you say to those Jamaican fans who probably stayed away in protest, some who may not think it's worth it? What do you say to them to come out and not only support the team, but the JFF and your other partners?
We just want to again reiterate that this JFF has one item on its agenda, and it's to rebuild the sport. And I'm pretty certain that having gone through almost 3 years of COVID restrictions, that we have done well. So I want to encourage the fans to come out and, like I said, be a part of the repair process. Help us, and it is just unfortunate that these things that I think are not deserving of the level of negative reports, simply not. Because what would have transpired in Suriname is simply something that would have happened to any team, anybody. The players just simply said that they weren't going on a midnight flight. And if the players had agreed, we would have had any such issue. But they said no, they're not traveling at midnight on that flight. So that certainly would have triggered a lot of issues.
You're hoping that they will forget about what happened and just focus on the future of the program.
Absolutely. And you have some players, and it's true that I have personally communicated with some of the players, and they are, in fact, very committed to the process. And we just want to ensure that they just put the side issues behind, now that they have gotten what they have asked for and have gotten what they would have demanded. Hopefully now we can refocus and just get the job done.
JFF President Michael Ricketts there speaking to me earlier about the recent issues with General Secretary Dalton Wint stepping down, the relationship with the players, the fans, and as you heard, Mr. Ricketts is not stepping away unless you decide to challenge him. So I guess don't waste your breath on all those what you call it? Them petition something there. I saw somebody start a petition asking for the removal of Dalton Wint. and it got some signatures. Like people were that committed. But don't waste your time for doing it for Mr. Ricketts, because he is here to stay until 2023, and then I can't run against him. All right. So we'll get further reaction on that and the actual on-field performance from the Reggae Boys, who played Suriname in 2 games, and then we play Mexico on Tuesday. So we'll be joined by Sportsmax reporter Brian Pitter shortly. So we head into a short break and we'll be back.
Let me your phone again there. Mine are more shaky. Brother, it's about time. What? You switch to Flow for the blue side vibes with big smartphone deals. Like the Alcatel A1 for just $4,645 GCT include, which comes with 14 days of unlimited talk, YouTube, Spotify, and social, plus 4 GB TikTok data. Or ZTE A31 for just $6,500 GCT included. Comes with a 7-day unlimited plan. Link a Flow store now for switch and keep your number. Offer available while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Attention all grade 11 high school students and parents. The Ministry of Education has paid for you to sit the City and Guilds Math and English exam on Thursday, June 30. Check with your school to see if you're registered for these exams. Don't miss the chance of a lifetime to be qualified with a certificate recognized by employers and universities worldwide. The exam consists of 1 paper, no SBA, no stress. A perfect alternative to the other exam. Call City and Guilds at 924-7808 or 924-7804. City and Guilds, the passport to your future.
Rio Grande to the South Coast. Hotel workers and man wear off boat. This a for the craft vendors, red cap porters and transportation at airport. Jamaica tourism pension plan, building towards the future for tourism workers across the island. Retirement benefits to contributions. Every worker in the industry, permanent self-employed contract. For your service you deserve security. Yes you do. Tourism workers pension plan, build a bright future. Yes you can. Tourism workers pension plan, workers invest through contribution. All tourism workers age 80 to 59. Tourism workers pension plan.
Start making your contributions for a brighter future.
For further information, visit mot.gov.jm or call 876-920-4926-30.
They're full of life. You're full of love. They're carefree. You care more. That's why we created Child Protector, a critical illness insurance plan from Sagicor Life. It provides coverage for your child in the event of 15 critical illnesses, hospitalization benefits, life insurance, and investment benefits. So make sure your child can live life to the fullest. Apply for Sagicor Child Protector today.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
AGD Pensioners, our mobile unit is coming to you. Meet us in your parish from Monday, June 6 to Friday, June 17. Collect and submit your life certificates. Get them certified on the spot with a valid ID, or just come for customer service support. See you in St. Thomas on June 6. On June 7, we'll be in Portland and St. Anne on June 8. In St. Mary, June 9. In Trelawney, June 10. St. Catherine Pensioners, the AGD will see you on June 11. On June 13, we go to St. Elizabeth. Elizabeth, Hanover on June 14, and to Westmoreland on June 15, Manchester on June 16, and to Clarendon on June 17. For more information, visit our website at treasury.gov.jm.
Have you ever looked at the good things in your life and still felt like something was missing? We know from experience how frustrating this can be. We are Christian Missionary Fellowship International, and we have come to tell you that we have found what you are looking for. So put down the comfort food and join us for a time of worship and deliverance service. Where? At the Portmore Art Academy this Saturday, June 11th at 5 p.m. If you can't make it, no problem. You are also invited for a time of worship at 52 Norbrook Drive on June 12th at 10 a.m. We will see you there.
It's 1:48 here in Jamaica. We just have around 11/12 minutes to go before the end of the show. So with all that's been going on, somebody who has been following everything and was also at the National Stadium, Sportsmax reporter, Brian Pitter. Brian, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me again, Daniel.
All right, so over the last few days, we've heard the whole bad precedents tag with the boys. We heard it with the reggae girls as well. What are your overall thoughts on how the JFF handled the situation, how the boys themselves handled the situation, everything around that?
Start with the JFF. It's not anything that I didn't expect. I feel like a lot of word gymnastics have been used to describe the events. What I'm really concerned about is, will the situation be resolved? We just heard from the interview that you did with the JFF president that there's another emergency meeting tomorrow again. There's been 2 emergency meetings since week to speak about the same issue. I'm not sure what they've been talking about, but I'm concerned, like, has Wint really left? And there's this whole concern about him getting a severance package, allegedly over 10 million Jamaican dollars for leaving the post. We know JFF, they've been saying that they've been financially strapped. Can they afford that? So there's a lot of concerns. There's still a lot of a lack of transparency as to what is actually going on. We know the boys have been adamant that if Wint is still in the position, they will not be playing for the national team. Going forward, will we see another situation like we had against Suriname? And we can't afford that to happen again because there's a lot at stake. But from the boys' perspective, I think they did what they had to do. Many might not agree with it, but they did what they felt like they needed to do in order to get the attention that they eventually got. They've been having issues with the JFF for years, but it really escalated. I think last year, we had that contractual dispute, and according to the technical committee, Rudolph Speed said that was sorted out. But in the letter that the boys released the other day, they said that they still have been playing without money. So who's really telling the truth? There's so many uncertainties that's going on surrounding this situation, and the public and the fans have really a lot of questions.
Speaking about the fans, you were at the National Stadium covering the game on Tuesday. How would you describe the atmosphere from the fans? Did you feel any tension? Was there more relief and excitement? Were there anybody there who was really upset at the entire situation? How would you describe that entire game?
So I was a bit worried because coming closer to the start time, didn't really see many fans coming into the stadium. But then as the minutes progressed, we started to see, Jamaicans like to arrive to things late. So we started to see the fans coming. The grandstand was really buzzing. Actually, I didn't really sense a lot of tension. There's probably, anticipation in how the boys were going to perform. But I didn't really sense that there was a lot of anger in the atmosphere. Perhaps if Wint or Ricketts was there, then there would have been more animosity. But apart from the banner that was raised in the bleacher section, which was directly adjacent to where the JFF hierarchy would normally sit, saying JFF, enough is enough. They raised that banner and they were told to put it down. They were forced to put it down. I'm not sure if someone from the JFF went over to speak to them, but that was a protest that was staged prior to the game. So we know that there were some fans that wanted to come out and make a statement. But truly, as soon as the whistle blew off, the fans were just focused on the game, and Ravel Mercer scored a beautiful free kick. All the attention was focused on the match and how the boys were performing.
So that first game in Suriname was, in my opinion, one of the worst I've ever seen. But then knowing what happened leading up to that match, I guess it could be excused. But the second game definitely was a lot better and added some of the overseas players. And as you mentioned, Ravel Morrison, who was outstanding. How important is he to the way that we play and us getting to that level where we are competitive against some of the best, not only in the region, but hopefully one day in the world?
Yeah, I think Ravel has a sense of professionalism to the squad, that love and determination that you need to play for your country, that passion. And it's kind of ironic or weird to actually see Ravel in that position. You know, growing up as a football fan, I saw Ravel playing for Manchester United youth team, and he was the best midfielder at the club, and he was highly rated. Sir Alex Ferguson said he was one of the best players, the best young players that he's ever coached. And you would never imagine that 12 years later that he'd be done in the black, green and gold colors of Jamaica. But it's in that perspective, it's really, really, really good that Jamaica has such a talent on its books, and he adds so much experience in that midfield. When Jamaica plays and Ravel is in the squad, we play so much better because he's able to link the midfield, the attack. He's able to drive the ball forward. He has those moments where he would spray those diagonal passes as well. There's a lot of traits that Ravel has in his locker, and I feel like it elevates the quality of the team more. So going forward, Ravel's, and he wants to play for Jamaica. That's the key thing. You don't really see that passion from the overseas players like how you see it on Ravel, and he's one that epitomizes that love and adoration for the country. So going forward, we need him in the team. I'm expecting for him to be a major part in the squad in the Nations League and in the Gold Cup next year if we qualify.
So one of our top players, Leon Bailey, unfortunately had some family issues before, and I think we as fans, we expect a lot from him as well, not just in this game but in general. And are we, and even himself, do you think that we're putting too much pressure on him, or do you think that maybe the way that we play isn't suiting his style? What do you think that his main issue is?
I think Bailey's main issue is probably the latter. And there have been a lot of critics that have come out and said, no, as a quality player, you should be able to play in any system or in any team, and your quality and your traits would come out and would be influential. But that's not necessarily the case. That's not the case for every single football player. This is a player that has performed exceptionally well in the Europa League at such a young age. He's a player that has gotten into the Bundesliga team of the season in his first full season in the Bundesliga. This is a player that was courted by Manchester United and big players, AC Milan, around the world. This is not an ordinary football player. So this Leon Bailey is someone of exceptional talent. And for him to not necessarily live up to the standard that we expect of him in the national team, I believe it's more centered around the system and the environment that he's playing in. I had asked Craig Butler when I interviewed him 2 years ago if the Jamaican national team should build around Liam Bale, and he said no. No, I don't believe that we should build around Liam Bale, but we should find ways in which we can play to his style more, suit his playing style more, and so that he can, be a better player for us. And we saw in the latter stages of the World Cup qualifying games, he was exceptional. He was the best player for Jamaica by a country mile. In the last 2 games, he was performing, and then he's been struggling with injuries, so that inconsistency as well has been affecting his game. But I feel like going forward, he has the motivation to perform for the country, and hopefully we can see a bit of improvement.
Yeah, just under 2 minutes to go. Finally, we play against Mexico on Tuesday. Even though Mexico have already qualified for the World Cup and we look at them as regional giants, we actually haven't been embarrassed when we have played them. Shamar Nicholson even said it recently. So how do you think Paul Hall should approach this game on Tuesday?
I think, the team that played against Suriname is the one that we should go into the game with. Of course, with Bailey starting if he's fit, if he's ready. I haven't really seen much changes though in terms of our playing style since the transition from Tapa to Paul Hall. I believe that the incoming new players, again, the inconsistency in squad selection has affected that. But I think this squad, he's beginning to understand who are the best players for the team, not necessarily in terms of quality individual, but who are the best players that fit, the team well. He's getting a better idea of that. And I think going into this Mexico game, where that Mexico national team isn't going to be full strength, isn't the best that they have been. They aren't the best that they have been in the past few years. They struggled in the World Cup qualifiers. They came under heavy criticism. Tata Martino came under heavy criticism during that time. So we can take advantage of the fact that we're at home, that it's not a full strength side, and that this team is still going through a development stage. So I'm expecting to see a competitive match, probably a draw or even a win.
All right, we're hoping so. Brian, thank you so much for your insight as usual, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
No problem.
All right, Brian Pitter, their reporter at Sportsmax. That's all the time that we have for this week. Thank you to everyone who joined in on any platform. Remember, Sports Talk was brought to you by Jamaica Customs Agency, Country Above Self. And you can listen to the show or watch the show again through the app or on YouTube or Facebook. So I'll see you again next week. Please stay safe and enjoy your weekend.